Hello, and welcome to Viewpoints, Dominion DMS's video podcast series where we highlight our vendor partners. I'm Sharon Kitzman, president of Dominion DMS, and today we are speaking to Michael Byrd. He's the senior vice president of sales at Informativ. Michael, welcome.
Hi, Sharon. Thanks for having me today.
Oh, we're thrilled to have you. I can't wait to learn a little bit more about Informativ. In fact, I'm going to ask you to tell us more here in a second. I think most of our dealers may have originally known you as Credit Bureau Connection, but now you're transitioning into Informativ, and I know that means that you have a lot of additional solutions for dealers to take advantage of. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been Credit Bureau Connection. Credit Bureau Connection's been around since the early 2000s, and this year we underwent a rebrand. We have a few more product sets within our portfolio, which include Dealer Safeguard Solutions, which is a safeguard compliance tool that really sits around the sales process and provides a proactive compliance solution for dealerships to make sure we're protecting consumer information and making sure that we're protecting the dealerships from potential compliance pitfalls. And then we also have a new product called Credit Driver that's a latest and greatest in lead generation. And that product came into the portfolio last year. We're really excited about it. But today, right before NADA, we became Informativ, and today we sort of have this solution that suits everything from the time that a lead enters the dealership when they capture the lead, all the way through to that into the sales process. And that's really where we live today, and all three of our products reside.
Excellent. Risk management is something dealers maybe not want to think about too much on their own, right? But it is so critical, and it's nice when they can sign up with a company and kind of take that off of their plate to manage and let somebody else handle it. You mentioned that you became Informativ right before NADA. NADA was in January. So how have dealers been accepting to the change in the name and the solution set? How are you doing so far year to date?
Yeah, we're doing fantastic. We've set a lot of records in the sales organization for the company. And the real power has been, one, there's been an educational component of, hey, who is Informativ, and really educating our customers. Currently, we have about 7,000 rooftops in our portfolio. So we have a pretty expansive customer base. We've done a lot of education with them, but really what's led to the explosive growth has been how we take our products, combine them together, and create this truly unique solution for auto dealers that sort of help them bring some method to the madness when it comes to the sales process.
Yeah, that's great. A little bit of a one throat to choke kind of an offering from you then, whereas maybe before they'd have to go to different vendors.
Yeah, I think today dealers have so many tools at their disposal, and a lot of times it gets overwhelming. So at Informativ, what our goal is to really own our niche and really where we live in that dealer's process. And we've seen a lot of disparate tools really centered at the very front of the process. They have all different types of chatbots and web forms and different ways to get leads. But when that lead enters the process, what happens next? And it can't be a free-for-all because there's so much happening today from a compliance standpoint and protecting consumers. So really that's where we live. And then we want to be a great partner to our DMS partners like Dominion. We want to be a great partner to our CRM partners, and we want to complement the core functions that they provide our mutual dealer customers. And we really want to enhance that. So it's a nice place to be because we're not stepping on toes, and we're working seamlessly with those day-to-day tools that are an absolute for dealers when it comes to their dealer management system, their F&I system, or their CRM.
Yeah. You mentioned CRM, which many dealers have had in place for several decades now, but things like chatbots, things like digital retailing, more on the front end of the process are in some cases relatively new to dealers, and they continue to add an additional layer in that software ecosystem that a dealership has to manage. As you think about everything that a dealership has to manage, and as we think about everything that a dealership has to manage, we really look to our vendor partners for suggestions on ways that we can make it simpler for the dealer, make it more efficient for the dealer. What do you think about with your team when you think about that broad ecosystem that exists in the dealership, and ways that software providers like both of us could create a little bit better of a solution together for dealers?
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic question. When we look at core functionality for a dealership, I think digital retail, I think we can agree that's something that's here to stay. I mean, digital retail is going to be one piece of the pie in terms of how dealers now interact with consumers. So when we look at how we operate and how we try to complement our other technologies that are core components to dealers day to day, we really look at how can we present information within those applications that one is in a meaningful way for the dealership. And that really comes down to how we integrate with those solutions. It's why we value a partner like Dominion, because when we look at an API, we're not looking at, hey, let's just pick and choose what we think they may want to see and throwing it out there. We're actually thinking about the customer and saying, what information do we have today that's really important for their day-to-day business function so that they can be more efficient in their process? So I think that how we integrate, how we communicate, and how we work together, I think that's a really powerful thing that we have to look at as companies that service the same customer base, to say, okay, how can we make this more meaningful for the dealership? How can we make this make sense? And how can we prevent duplicate information, and how can we prevent them from being more and more confused by all these different partners? So I think that's a core piece to what we have to be really good at as we move forward with our customer bases.
I love it. It's so hard sometimes to allocate time to have those conversations, but they're critical in the efficiency gains that we can generate for dealers, because that duplicate input that you mentioned is just pervasive in our industry. So thank you for that. So here we are. We're about to start Q3 of 2023. I think maybe the pandemic is behind us. Maybe we're starting to get some relief from the chip shortage, and inventories are starting to settle down a little bit for the dealers. Interest rates were climbing the first half of the year. Maybe the Fed has pressed pause there a little bit, but all of these things are things that my team and I talk about on a regular basis in order to be prepared to try to, help dealers through maybe a downturn or take advantage of an upturn. Do you and your team sit around talking about that as well? And if so, what types of things are you thinking about?
Yeah, I think that we probably spend a lot of time, probably more time than we should at this point, but really wondering, hey, what's going to happen next, right? Mm-hmm. But we also try to engage with our dealers and talk to them about what are the real problems, what are the things that you're worried about. And we're seeing some common themes, right? We're seeing that, hey, we're not having as many people running into the dealership trying to buy a vehicle. So we have to do a lot more outbound efforts, right? So now some of our marketing efforts and advertising efforts, those are areas they haven't spent a lot of money on in the past, that they're looking at, okay, how do we go and get more people interested in buying a vehicle? Because maybe interest rates have made it a little less advantageous to purchase a new vehicle or a used vehicle at this point. Mm-hmm. So when we talk about some of those factors, we're really looking at how is the dealership changing, what's important to them, and we're seeing a few themes, right? How do we get people in the door that are interested in buying a vehicle? And then two, when we look at how we interact with those dealers and different technologies we use, how do we control costs? Because we don't know what's going to happen in this market. And how do we make sure that we focus in on the core pieces that are being effective? So at Informativ, when we talk about our technology and what we're trying to do, we very much want to be a core component of the day-to-day business function of the dealership. And we want to make sure we're adding a ton of value around that lead generation, identifying real buyers, and helping them convert those sales ultimately.
Great. You mentioned to me before we started the recording that you were talking to a client earlier this morning, and so your day is a little thrown off with some of the time that was unexpected there that was allocated to that meeting. When you're talking to dealers, when you're talking to OEMs, it would not surprise me if they complain a little bit about DMS systems, maybe how locked down they are or how inflexible they are. As you think about working with DMS systems across the ecosystem, is there any advice you can give a DMS provider like Dominion in how we could come across differently to the industry, how we could do things better?
Yeah, I think that one of the areas that maybe has a little less focus on is how can we add value to what's important to a dealership, right? And when dealerships look at their DMS, that's where their history is. That's where all their clients reside. That's where all that information lives. And I think a lot of dealers start thinking about, well, how am I leveraging that information? How can I better access it and realize who are my customers and what do those customers mean to be, and who's right for a new opportunity to potentially buy a vehicle, and how do I build those relationships? So I'm seeing that's more and more important to dealers, because there's a little bit of a lack of trust of, hey, just give me a fresh list of people that are out there that may be interested in a car, when they're not leveraging that customer base, those people that they've done business with in the past. So I think that from a DMS standpoint, there are some companies out there that are partnering with DMSs like an Orbi that are helping them market to their DMS base or their customer base. I think the better information that DMS can give dealers about their customers is going to be a key factor in overall satisfaction and value they find in the DMS that they're using.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I leased a vehicle on Monday because my lease was expiring, and I've moved states, but I heard from the captive finance company a couple times a week over the last 6 weeks, but never from the dealership that I purchased the vehicle from originally. So yeah, there's a lot of opportunity there, and better ways to mine the data and serve it up so that they know what data is maybe most important at any given time. I think is where we could come into play a little bit better.
Absolutely.
So if there is a dealer out there who's interested in that lead generation tool that you mentioned, or the compliance part of the business, or of course the credit part of the business, and they'd like to get a hold of Informativ and talk to them about what types of opportunities they could partner with you on, what's the best way to get in touch with you, Michael?
Yeah, I would say send in a inquiry through our contact us form, or to send email in directly to sales@informativ.com. One of the things that we've done, because Informativ's new and really helping dealerships grasp what we do and where we live, we built a solution overview presentation, and it's really just a high level, this is where our product lives and this is where we can help you, and from a specific product standpoint to combining the total solution together. And what we found is, while each of our products are effective in their own right and they have a place, the power of Informativ is really when we take those solutions and combine them and what they can mean for a dealership while complementing those other core systems. So that solution overview presentation is a great opportunity for them just to sort of see what we do and visualize how it could enhance their dealership.
And that's just on your website?
Yeah, they can send an inquiry in, and then we can take them through that, schedule it with a sales engineer or somebody on staff, and they can run them through and show them the total solution.
Okay, great. So in case you can't see Michael's logo on his shirt, Informativ does not have an E on the end. So, but I'm sure if you Google it, you can get it. You can also go to the dominiondms.com site under our partners tab, and you can see all of our partners, including Informativ, which will link back to their website as well. So Michael, thanks for being here today. Before we leave, since you and I live and breathe automotive every day, do you have a car story for us?
Yeah, actually, just recently, it's funny, my wife is actually more of a car person than I am in terms of buying new vehicles. And it's so funny. She will be very thrifty when it comes to the grocery store or shopping online, but when it comes to a car, it is, I'm ready to buy, right? She finds the car she wants. So we were looking at some different luxury SUVs, and there was a specific one that just you couldn't find anywhere. It was just impossible to find. And I was laughing because I was like, I'm in the car business. I can find one. She's like, you can't find one. And she's well, I'll never get it, and going on and on and on. And so called one of our dealership customers and said, hey, can you guys get a hold of this vehicle? He's like, oh, I got one coming in 2 months. And then I came back and I said, yeah, I didn't tell her anything, sort of just kept it behind, the scenes a little bit. And then about a week before it arrived, I sent her a picture of the vehicle just come off. It just been shipped in and come off the boat. And she's like, oh yeah, you'll never find one. I said, no, we'll get it next Friday. She's totally shocked and blown away. So I'm a sucker because I tend to buy them for her, and I feed that energy of this insatiable car person that is my wife. But it's sort of funny that she doesn't give me as much credit when it comes to being in the car industry and actually being able to locate a hard to find vehicle.
Well, you got some great husband points, I'm sure, from that effort as well. That's a great story. And as I mentioned just a few minutes ago, I just bought also, and they are, if you're looking for something specific, they are hard to find out there still. There's a lot of there's more vehicles on the lot these days, but not something specifics. Good for her, and good for you. Michael, thanks so much for joining us. Best of luck to you and the team at Informativ. It sounds like you're on a great path with some amazing new solutions, and we're really excited to be partnered with you as well.
Yeah, absolutely, Sharon. Thank you for your partnership. Really excited to continue working with Dominion and get more and more engaged together and how we can find these solutions. Thank you for having me on the call today. Really enjoyed it and look forward to speaking with you soon.
Absolutely. Take care.
Bye-bye.